iDS Talks is a podcast dedicated to helping corporations and law firms find new and effective ways to leverage data, giving them a decisive advantage both in and out of the courtroom.
Hello and welcome to another edition of iDS Talks. My name is Jonathan Sachs, Chief Revenue Officer at iDS, and I'm joined today by Stephanie Clerkin, Director of Litigation Support at Clerkin, Tillery, and Bobby Williams, a Director here at iDS. We're all here together today to talk about community, its impact on networking, careers, bringing people together, and positivity. Stephanie and Bobby, welcome to the iDS Talks podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, very happy to be here. I am a little jealous though because Stephanie has two things that I don't have. She has a beautiful sequin blouse and hair. Just two things that I don't have.
You know, we could fix the sequin blouse at least.
That would be a good addition. The thing is, would Bobby then also get some sort of sequin tie to go with it?
Ooh.
Could be the matching. And of course, I feel extremely dressed down, very casual. The two of you looking great. Bobby always outdoes me. Stephanie, you are doing a great job as well.
It was intentional. I was like, my main goal today was to outshine Jonathan.
Not hard to do and happens all the time. It's a very low bar. So you've definitely cleared it. Anyway, let's jump right in. And I love today's topic. And I know that community is one that's important to both of you. So when Bobby came to me and said, I've got a great guest for the podcast, I said, absolutely, let's go for it. So we're gonna jump right in. And you can both answer the same question, let one answer, and then build off of it. We're gonna go freeform. So here's the question. How has being part of a strong community helped you navigate challenges and find opportunities in your respective careers?
So want me to jump on in?
Yep.
All right. Well, I have to owe community to pretty much everything in my career. You know, Bobby and I somehow just met in the last 6 months, and it's insane to me. Not even 6 months, 4 months. But yeah, if I rewind back to 2013 when I joined the firm here, there was no one in my role. So I really didn't have anyone to, reach out to for what I do, to, provide guidance. I had no idea where to start. So my first starting point was our sales account execs that I was working with on different legal software. I mean, who else knows the industry better than someone who's been in sales 20 years? So I reached out to them for some advice and then learned about ILTA and that our firm was a member, and then just went online and found a bunch of resources there, which led me to other people in St. Louis doing what I do, even though some might be, opposing counsel. I slowly just built my network that way. And once I was able to get into the conference, circuit, that just, exponentially grew. And to this day, I mean, I still could not do anything in my day-to-day without having the support of others in similar, situations, and to, bounce ideas off of and tell me more coffee is okay. You're going to survive. 4 shots of espresso is not too many shots. You could have, So, I mean, from education to just sanity checks, community has been my foundation.
I love that. And as someone who's been doing this for 20 years, I'm glad to know that, you would come to me for part of your community or not. Bobby doesn't have that choice. He has to come to me. I'm forced community on you, my friend. But how about you? How has community helped you in relation to your career?
I mean, so yes, you are a part of my community, and it's not forced. It's quite voluntary that you're a part of my community. But I would even say, even before my career, the things that led me to, be what some might consider to be successful in my career, community has been such a major part of my life. Everything I've been able to achieve in some form in my life from childhood has been a community thing. Everything from the neighborhood I lived in, I grew up with, and the neighbors that I lived with, and how we interacted with one another and how we looked out for one another taught me a lot about the power of community. The fact that I've always been a person I've had some drive. I've had some some self-motivation, and some might even say I've had some aptitude. What I did not have for the majority of my young life and even part of my adulthood was means. So I couldn't make a lot of these things happen. I didn't hold any keys. I couldn't open any doors myself, but I was always at some point in the path connected to someone who saw the positives and said, despite the fact that he does not have means, he should get a shot. And it was because of that I even I got a scholarship to go to private school when I was in middle school. I never would have been able to afford that without community, without people connecting with my mom and giving her information and her doing research and her making phone calls, not just with the school I ended up going to, Edmund Burke, my high school alma mater, but at the Black Student Fund, who also helped fund my education, right? I was a graphic design major. I took art classes where I worked. I went to school full time, I worked full time, and I had a part-time job while I was in college, and still could not afford all my art supplies. I had a professor in school who gave me it was I couldn't even show you 2 square feet on the floor of art supplies, paints, pencils, raw canvas for me to stretch, bucket of gesso for me to, she gave me all of this stuff, right? And that has just continued into my adulthood at IDS. I would say a lot of my career development has been collaborative at IDS. And that's because people like you, Sachs, and people like our COO, Hunter McMahon, we work together to try to figure out what is the next step for Bobby going to be. And then I have internal advocates. Even you get so busy, you can't always look out for yourself. Community gives you the extra eyes so that, other people are looking out for you.
Yeah. Bobby, that story that you shared about your experience with the art professor, I think is a great one. And it actually means you don't get to answer question number 2 because you did in advance. So instead, Stephanie, I'm gonna let you. I was hoping and would like you to share a moment when leaning on your community made a tangible difference in your life, either professionally or personally.
Well, I'll start with a funnier story here. And this is just recent. This was last August at Elticon, actually. 2 weeks before the conference, I broke my foot, my very first broken bone in my entire life. And wish I had a better story, but I broke it in the toddler pool at the local pool. So
we got to work on that. We got to.
So I still am not used to having to accept more help from others than I'm used to, but it proved from one, getting through the airport with the broken foot without crutches or anything and luggage. I had so many strangers at the airport just assist and without asking. And by the time I got to the conference, I ended up getting a little scooter, which ended up being a great conversation starter. And just throughout the whole time, the broken foot just became like a deep connector of people I had never met that had also broken bones or feet and had to survive conferences with, crutches, a scooter with the knee scooter. And it ended up being a lot of fun. And I can't really say I enjoy broken bones, but from that perspective, I got some great connections out of it. But, that's more of a funny one. But going back, definitely not as strong of a story as Bobby's, but I also started working when I was technically 12, but officially at 15, and we didn't have a ton of money either, so I paid all my bills from 16 on to graduate high school and all my college. And in high school, my job I worked at was very, very flexible because I'm literally working 39 hours. I could not work 40 as a high school student, but they would let me, come do my homework as needed. Do you need this? One time one of the managers gave me money to buy gas because I literally did not have enough gas money at the time. And from there, I still keep in touch with these people I worked with from 16 to, 20 because of it. And that kind of sent those small gestures that people probably forget about kind of carried through even into, college, like a professor helping me rewrite, a resume that led to an internship that led to my first job out of college, which eventually led me here in a way. So I I think people underestimate community as, it doesn't have to be someone you see every day. It could be someone you may only briefly know for 2 weeks of your life, but might make a difference that, butterfly effects into, something else, which again, take that butterfly effect. And here we are. Bobby and I met thanks to being nominating and then winning, the Gail O'Connor Spirit Award, which is just a crazy journey to make it to this point. And I love every bit of it.
I was waiting to see
Yeah.
how we were going to work in the
Yeah.
co-winners of the award.
It was going to come up, that.
So before we get there, though, Stephanie, appreciate the story that you shared. For our listeners, I am not saying that iDS Talks condones breaking bones or supports the breaking of bones for better connection. But if it happens to happen, then may it turn out as well or good. I should go back to grammar school and figure out grammar on that one. But anyway, let's talk about the award. It's not one of the official questions, but we brought it up. And so maybe you guys can just share, one of the two of you, what the award is and then what it meant to you to win it.
So this might be one where I might want to actually look up the real description so I don't butcher it. But so can we pause this one and I'm going to pull it up?
So while you do that,
Yeah.
Bobby, is there another quick community share about its impact on you personally or professionally?
I would say the most important thing that I take away from that award, while Stephanie looks up exactly, what it stands for and everything, is that it is a community-based award. The committee of people who facilitate the award, they're members of our community. The community votes on the award. They take stories told and verified by people in the community. It's completely community-based. It's not like a pay-to-play award. So that's the thing that's the reason why it was so significant for me to win. I was like, this is my peers. These are people who precede me in generations of e-discovery, like, coming together to say, hey, Stephanie and I, like, we capture the spirit of community. And that's what I took from it. That's like the biggest thing for me. It made me emotional during the ceremony.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Stephanie, you ready? You ready to educate us?
I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up what SPIRIT stood for. So I wanted to pull up the acronym. So it's Service with a Sparkle, Promotion of Individuals, Inspiring, Respectful, Integrity, and Teamwork with Mentorship. So like Bobby said, this is a community award, which is what one of my biggest takeaways was as well. This is an award that, again, you have to be nominated by peers for. And it's even more meaningful to know, I think for both of us would agree that there are people out there that look up to us, even if we don't realize it, enough to nominate us. And I believe they told us we both had multiple nominations. I have no idea who they came from really still, but that was huge. And, the more I, got into the process, I was like, this is just kind of how I've always been. This is, this goes back to just me trying to have fun at, work. Because if you're going to be here so much, you might as well be yourself and have some fun. And, I do like sparkles. So I did wear the sparkle for that reason.
Very nice. Yes.
But yeah, I wish I would have been able to know Gail more. I've only met her once, maybe twice over the years, briefly, thanks to Maribel Rivera. But yeah, everyone I talk to and the more stories I learn makes me, I feel like if we got to know each other more, we would have, immediately been new conference buddies as well. So.
I think it was great that this year they were able to have co-honorees, co-winners. I think it speaks volumes for the two of you. And this does segue nicely into the next question that I wanted to ask, because there is a lot of connection that is accomplished now digitally. In fact, I watched as the winners were announced by going online. I was actually with our leadership team and we all listened to the presentations that people made, the comments that they made. And so I wanted to find out from the two of you in this era of what I would say is digital connectivity, what strategies have you found most effective for fostering not just relationships in general, but meaningful relationships and networks?
Quick side note here. So if you watched those award ceremonies live, you watched me join via a hotel lobby with a horrible connection and constantly join and drop. So welcome to legal tech.
You found a way around, though. I believe that I think you
We
called
did.
it. You called in on Kat Casey's phone,
I did.
maybe, so we heard you that way. But we do have to find ways to adapt
She
and
didn't give up. She did not give
Oh
up.
no.
persistent.
Persistent.
It was a good metaphor of just, the legal world and e-discovery. There's always some weird tech glitch thrown your way. You might as well find another workaround. But anyway, I actually think, well, one, as horrible as COVID was, the one silver lining that came out of it was I met I can't even tell you how many people thanks to joining virtual networking events and happy hours. And I started joining random women in e-discovery chapters that were doing stuff. So I'm like, I joke, I'm like an honorary member of Chicago, Miami, New York, I think LA. I think I get emails from all of them now, maybe San Francisco too. But I was able to form probably some even more in-depth, type of relationships thanks to virtual type meetings, because at a lot of the conferences and events, you're jumping around sometimes from event to event. Someone has to leave and take a call, someone has a meeting, so you don't usually get as focused one-on-one time sometimes. But these type of virtual meetings have proven very beneficial for that. And after a while, I forget sometimes that we only know each other via, Zoom. And then when I see people in person, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a while. And then it clicks. Oh, we've never seen each other in person. It just feels like we have. So as much as I really do enjoy in person still, number one, but I think virtual has come a long way and has helped me a ton.
Yeah, the first time I met someone in person after spending 3 years, 2.5 years only interacting on Zoom, they walked up and said, "You look just like your Zoom." And I thought, well, they haven't come up with the make me look 10 years younger filter. You can look like a cat, but I can't look 10 years younger. We gotta work on that one. Bobby, how about you? How with digital connectivity, how have you been in some ways perhaps more effective fostering relationships and networks?
It's very similar to Stephanie. I have connected to so many people that I otherwise would not have been able to connect with if not for digital platforms, social media specifically. LinkedIn is a very big source. Not that they're a sponsor, maybe LinkedIn should sponsor the iDS Talks podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Just being able to curate digital spaces, curate your platform, craft a message that's like authentically you that people can see and they say, huh, that sounds like somebody I may want to know. And then doing something really simple to the other side of that, right? That the first side is just kind of like a big broadcasting yourself. But on a micro level, like I'm going to a city, like just filtering my contacts for people who live in that city and is like, hey, it starts digital, but I'm like, hey, we're friends on LinkedIn. I'm coming to that city. I'm going to be here for this amount of time. Would love to meet face to face. And I've actually formed in-person physical connections with people that I met on social media. And I've gotten work like just from knowing people on social media. But yeah, for me, it's been integral to relationship building, definitely in a professional capacity. And then, of course, I've made friends with many people, so it's helped me in a personal capacity too.
And I'm still waiting for that invite to brunch at Bobby's, which was a
Oh, new podcast.
it could be. He did have a couple of videos he posted on LinkedIn. All right, so this next question is one I was really interested in hearing from the two of you about. Because and Stephanie, you talked a little bit about the ability to bounce ideas off of your network and them being a sounding board. But I think there are times when the world itself can be very overwhelming, personally and professionally, right? And I wanted to hear from the two of you how prioritizing community can actually help or has helped you maintain positivity and perhaps even a sense of stability.
So I probably have used one of my Signal groups as free therapy over the last couple of years. But so a lot of the women in legal, we have a group called Uplifters on LinkedIn, and it went to WhatsApp chat. We're on Signal now, and within there, we sit there and we talk. Hey, who's going to which conference? So we have subgroups. So that way, if you're new to the event, you have somebody you can always reach out to, so you're not alone there. But also spun off into like there's one just like a mom community, and having a 3 and 1 year old trying to work full time, there aren't a ton of people I can talk to in just everyday life that maybe fully understand. So being able to just reach out and say, how did you all survive a 2 a.m. deadline when the baby has been crying for 1 hour without losing your mind, has been very refreshing. So, and because of that, you become more comfortable sharing other types of scenarios, and it's another way to get to know people better and basically just kind of cultivate a network of people that share, similar like missions or, similar values. And, I feel like now more than ever, I find myself migrating more to people who, I feel like I could confide in more for certain, discussions more so than ever, really. And even, LinkedIn, for example, I've been able to kind of shift my feed even to show me more people that are fitting like my current state of, mind. So yeah, having sounding boards that are not just work related, but just, am I losing my mind or is this normal? Discussions help as well.
I find personally, professionally, I'll even say politically, it is helpful to know that you are not the only person experiencing something, that you're not crazy, that you're not the only person seeing something happen right in front of your face. To find that solidarity in community with other people who are like, yeah, no, you're not crazy. This is happening. We're seeing this same thing. And then also other people who like will heed the call to action and collaborate with you and work together to improve something, to make something better. Whether that's personally, we need to pull this party off, right? Whether it's professionally, we need to get this project done, or whether it's, we need to make sure we get enough transportation for people to be able to go to the polls and vote, right? Like all of these things is like people coming together so that you know that you're not alone in something. And that's what community is all about. And also, it's also helped me to know that like I don't always have the answer. I mean, I actively mentor, so I have a lot of people looking to me for guidance frequently, but I don't have all the answers. Community helps me get understanding and answers. It helps me refocus when I need to focus because there's lots of people who have expertise I don't have, who've had experiences that I don't have. Community, just going back to the first question, man, throughout my life, community, I think, has been probably the most powerful, impactful thing in my life. And that's why I'm people powered. I tell people all the time I'm people powered. Like I get my energy with people, and that's why I'm on a mission, I think, to just do what I can for people because it's reciprocated when you do that.
I love it. All right, last question. So, as the way we connect changes, looking to hear your thoughts on what are some emerging trends or perhaps some best practices that you can share that will shape the future of community building.
This one's a good one because
they're all good, Stephanie. That's why I get to moderate it. This is, come on.
That's why you get paid the big bucks over there. I mean, I think, we see there's always some new technology coming out, but it's digital spaces. I feel like there's getting some that are more niche these days. So for example, I'll use Slack for, it's not work related, more of a volunteer type discussion. And then I might use LinkedIn for more of my work friends conversations. And then, quite a few people over on Blue Sky now that I've been following, for, more just entertainment purposes. And I think all of these are great. All of these fit in to the world, but something's going to come out and make it, different. Actually, I still use TikTok all the time. I've found people on there that in the legal world that we went and met at New York last year at Legal Week. It was, used for the right purpose. All of these are great tools. Although there's one trend I'm starting to notice, and is AI going to make it harder for real conversations when you can kind of perfectly script your emails and your posts and your ability to like think on the fly. I mean, it's good for certain things, but I'm now a little bit worried about how is this going to impact real interaction and, those that need to be able to have active debates and, all that in the future. But yeah, at the same time, I still think in person is going to outweighs most online events. But yeah, I see this being interesting in the next 5 years.
Well, and I think it can help facilitate that in person, much like
Yeah.
you with your
Yeah,
TikTok,
that's a good word. Yeah.
right? And so I do think that, and the whole AI conversation is probably a separate podcast,
Yeah.
but I was talking to someone recently who is very aware of how LinkedIn works, and she's been a consultant to companies for the past 10 years on it. And one of the things that we recently had an exchange on LinkedIn about was AI can be good, but right now, if it's someone who's reaching out to me for the first time, I can smell that it's AI, and that's an almost immediate delete from my inbox. So anyway, Bobby, how about you? What do you see here?
I'm just thinking about the phrase "I can smell the AI." Like I'm gonna somehow
T-shirts being made,
Another good
trademarked,
headline. Yeah.
trademarked. I'll be wearing it around Legal Week.
I can smell the AI. So I think, like Stephanie, I think in person is still paramount. There's something about the energy of people in a room that I think is irreplaceable. But I think a trend that is going to continue impacting the way we engage as a community is going to be the hybrid interaction. I think we have some things that we do in the company that are pretty cool. And I've seen other people do this too. Virtual happy hours, right? Where everybody's just in a virtual space together, but we're still like all, tasting the same things or, right? Because we send it out in advance. Or virtual whiteboarding, literally using the whiteboard function in an app and just opening up the call and say, hey, we're all trying to talk about ideas, ways to improve, ways to make things better. So whatever comes to mind, whatever you think of, let's just talk about it and have open discussion. I think things like that are going to become more common. Just like doing this hybrid situation. We have tandem work situations where 2 people or 3 people are all on the Zoom call and they're working at the same time, but not really interacting with one another. But when someone has an idea or has a thought, you're already on the call. You don't have to pick up the phone to call them. You don't have to send them a text message or a Teams to see when they're available. You're already on the call. So you just unmute and you're just like, hey, such and such and such, right? So I think hybrid things like that are going to become more normal because you can't put the genie back in the bottle, despite how some folks out there are trying to force people back into a physical workspace, which you can argue the logistical inefficiencies and how you limit the talent that you can have coming to your organization by keeping it jurisdictionally based. I think that the genie's out of the bottle, and some organizations recognize the power of being able to leverage talented people from all over the world to work for their organizations. I think the hybrid movement is going to be a trend that continues to empower people to make that happen. So.
Got it. Well, this has been great. I want to thank both of you, Stephanie and Bobby. Appreciate you joining me today. I'd also like to thank our regular subscribers, those that may be first-time listeners, for spending time with us. If you'd like to learn more about iDS or you want to subscribe to our iDS Talks podcast, you can visit idsinc.com or go wherever you normally get your podcasts from. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to talking more about data with you on our next edition of iDS Talks.